Walt screams loudly, then laughs like a maniac. Walt, Skylar calls out repeatedly, with tears in her eyes. Walt's laugh grows louder, more maniacal, as a phone rings in the background. The phone clicks to the answering machine. It's Marie, and she's panicking.
It's happening again. The DEA called. They got some tip from an informant that the cartel, they want to kill Hank.
Skylar walks to the phone, terrified. The music grows more violent, more distorted, as Walt's laugh can still be heard in the background.
What is this going to end?
Skylar picks up the phone and takes a deep breath. Marie, I'm here. I'm here. Tell me exactly what happened. The camera focuses on the door before it cuts to Walter, still laughing, then coughing. Then he stops. As the music grows more distorted and uncontrollable, the camera zooms out, still shaking, and what was once music turned into pure noise. And then, silence. This is the ending of Season 4, Episode 11, Crawl Space. This is where all the dominoes that were being placed throughout the season collapsed. All the build-up, all the slow, purposely drawn-out scenes snapped in less than a minute. It's downright horrifying. What was usually a comedy drama show for most of the runtime up until now went and decided to become a thriller horror. Well, yes, there are scenes that have a similar feel to this. The danger monologue comes to mind, but this was when the show really started to turn into a lump of chaos. The remaining 2 episodes of Season 4, after Crawl Space, used barely any light comedy, if any at all. It kept that tension from the moment Walt screamed at Skylar up until Walt declares his victory at the end of the season. The scene was a game changer, and the way Gilligan builds up to this scene is brilliant. From the Walter replacement plan that Gus puts into action with Jesse, to the Ted fuckery going on with the IRS. All of it comes together in this episode to endanger Walt and his family to a degree not seen before in the show. Oh yeah, and the cinematography in this episode is outstanding. Especially in the phenomenal scene where Huell uses his psychic powers to make Ted's carpet rise and trip Ted, permanently paralyzing him. Although I wish I could say Huell killing Ted with his psychic carpet abilities was the best scene in the episode, it's not even the second best. The second best scene is the desert scene after Walt gets kidnapped. Everything about this scene is perfect, from the lighting to the overall composition of the scene. Breaking Bad tends to use wide shots during scenes in the desert, and this scene is no different. Except usually we see 2 powers face to face. Here we see an obviously more powerful man against an old man almost at his limit. When we see Gus from Walt's perspective, it's shot from a low angle, signifying Gus's dominance over Walt. Gus speaks in sharp, short sentences. When we see Walt from Gus's perspective, it's shot from a high angle, showcasing further his dominance over Walt. But Walt still has defiance in him. It switches to a wide shot as Walt explains why Gus can't kill him. At this point, the clouds are casting a shadow over the characters. Walt thinks he's safe. But slowly the shadow fades as Walt stops speaking, and the sun fully engulfs them once again when Gus starts speaking again. He tells Walt that he will kill his entire family, including his infant daughter. When the perspective switches back to Walt's, Gus looks even bigger and more dominating than before, with his eyes wide open and his speech being slow and clear. Gus leaves and Walt is cut free. We see Walt collapsing, left with those haunting last words from Gus. This scene just does so many things right. As I've mentioned, the cinematography is phenomenal. It finds so many ways to show who is dominating the conversation. From the angles to the shadows, it uses them effectively to show a deeper battle. This scene pushed Walt to the limit, and we can see that by the end of it. He's left broken and alone. The scene switches over to Saul's agency, and we see a desperate Walt pleading for help. But there's one problem. He needs money. We then cut to the best scene in the episode, hell, the best scene in the season. Walt rushes back home to where he thinks all the money he left is waiting for him. He enters the crawl space and frantically searches for the money. At this point, the viewer starts to understand what's going on. The majority of the money that was originally kept there for safekeeping was given to Ted to pay the IRS. Walt demands Skylar to tell Walt where the money is before bursting out. And after Skylar tells him, the scene from the beginning of the video plays. Walt has passed the limit he had, going insane. But the tension doesn't stop. There's no room to breathe. The telephone rings while the music gets increasingly louder. When it clicks to the answering machine, we can hear Marie's shaky voice, telling Skylar that the cartel wants to kill Hank. At this point, an uncomfortable feeling dawns on us. What Gus said to Walt wasn't a baseless threat, it was real and it was coming. And the shot composition audio of this scene is just as terrifying. When the telephone clicks to the answering machine, we can see Skylar backing away from the room where Walt is, still laughing. This communicates to the audience how scared she is of Walt at that moment. And as Skylar goes towards the phone, we can still see the door to the room where Walt is still in frame. As the music gets louder, Walt's laugh gets more maniacal, and Mary's sobbing continues. It conveys the madness that is currently being played out. And when Skylar finally picks up the phone, she affirms Mary that she's there, and she says this twice, almost as if she's trying to make herself feel a bit more at ease as well. Skylar leaves the frame, and the camera focuses on the door of the room where Walter is. It cuts to Walter lying on the ground, with money next to him, coughing and laughing while the camera zooms out. The coughing could also signify that Walt's cancer is coming back, but it could also be because of all the dust down there. I love how ambiguous this scene is. It could mean so many different things that Gilligan just doesn't tell us until later on during season 5. He finally stops, looking unfocused, and the camera continues to zoom out, shaking, similar to how one's head starts throbbing after laughing too hard. And the droning music continues to get louder. At this point, Walter looks like he's a metaphorical coffin. He dug too deep to get out, and now he's left to die. It almost feels like he's accepted his fate then and there, while the music becomes pure noise, and then finally cuts to black. This scene is just so pure and raw, unadulterated emotion. It was the icing on the cake for this episode. We get to see Walt's world crumble before our eyes. We get to see Skylar's world crumble before our eyes. And of course, that was due to the brilliant acting by Anna Gunn and the even more brilliant Bryan Cranston. By the end of the scene, I was honestly baffled. I remember the episode being great on my first watch of the show years ago, but not this great. I don't even know what else to say, just that this may be one of the greatest episodes of TV, and for sure one of the greatest scenes of TV. And that Ted fucking Beneke did everything wrong.